well, there's nobody on but Paul, but last month at the AGM, 3 of our people, 2 board members and a volunteer, were elected to the FYSA Board of Directors. Kai is a commissioner, Mike Connell is the VP for our region, and Greg Zach is the VP of competitive for the FYSA. So we got 3 voting board members out of the USA crowd. And
Good job.
And we got Les. One of the guys with Les was elected as was the
Mike Flood,
VP of administration, I believe, right, Les?
Yes, VP Administrative and Communication.
I think we got one more spot. So kind of this insurgent thing.
And then the guy from the tropics, Dara.
Right. This call to arms was is
that Paul's group? Paul, is that your group?
What's that?
Tropics?
No, I'm North Lakeland.
You're North Lakeland.
Yes.
Yeah, he's from the great group of North Lakeland, not the Lakeland Tropics.
Right. Okay. So I was wondering. I talked to Derek, and Derek's the VP of player development, and I had asked him. I says, "Well, what club are you? Are you the old Lakeland club that played at Lake Parker, or are you
Yes.
Lakeland?"
Yeah, that's who it is, right, Les?
That's who it is.
So it's the Lake Parker group.
Yeah, well, they merged, didn't they, Les, a couple of years back, 5 years back, 10 years back, something like that?
With who? Merged with who?
Well, the Lakeland Highlands and the Lakeland over by Lakeland,
that's what Paul is. Paul.
and then Lakeland Highland and the Lakeland over by the Detroit Tigers place, right?
Paul, aren't you the old Highlanders?
No, we're
No.
North Lakeland, NLYS, North Lakeland Youth Soccer.
Yeah, so you don't play at the old Highland.
No, we don't. They basically play at by where you're talking about the Tigers, and they also play out on Carter Road.
Where do you play?
Carter Road's the old.
We were out on
we went down
Hunt Fountain Park.
and kind of slunk dunk back in there, right?
Okay, so you're not as far as the Highlanders then.
Oh, we're north. We're north of all of them.
So, Greg, I think that the Lakeland club combined, and it was the guys in Lakeland Highlands, that complex, and the one over by the Tigers,
And Lake Parker. Okay.
ended up with one club. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry,
And
Paul. I
they
thought you were
had some other sites, but they
We're
turned out to
North
be
Lakeland.
Okay. Okay, now I got the lay of the land over there. Okay.
All right. So anyway, that's what happens. The first thing, welcome. That's for the president's information today. And Sherry pushed out the junior. So we have one part of that, one ramification of that is that both Kai and Mike had to resign from our board, and I would like tonight to appoint them to an emeritus status on the board. In other words, non-voting but emeritus members, so we can still take input from them and get help from them also.
Yes.
Both of them are pretty active. Greg, fortunately, is still volunteering with us still, so he's okay because he's not a voting member of the board. But we appreciate Greg staying with us.
Who's got the ruckus going on in the background? There you go. Thanks, Les.
So anyway, that's that for the beginning of the agenda. So have you got the agenda up yet? Let's just run through it. I know we got the last. Have you got the?
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull it. Let me see if she loaded it up to the website. Hold on. Because I don't have it on. I don't have it in Outlook.
Well, the last time we met formally that we had a minutes, we were those minutes going to be on the website right now, right? They are 60 days old.
At least.
Because all the meetings we had in between were not called. We had no minutes, and we were all together at the AGM.
All right, hold on. USA.
Well, I'll keep I'll keep talking while he's looking for that so we can approve the minutes. But so Sherry's got the junior schedules out. They're in the hands of the clubs at this point, and everybody, if your club guys that need to take a look at it and set some times. I think it's closing out, and I think she's closing that
10-10.
10-10. Okay, good. So that's enough time for anybody to move games or anything else they got to do, for whatever reason. So that's good. I mean, we're on our way. It took a little longer. We were a little bit.
All right.
You still is that how you're looking right now? Is that you looking?
Yeah, that's me looking about the.
All right. So anyway, let me continue. So anyway, we'll get past this part. So we really don't have anything. I think we've got some adjudication, although no, not really. The 4 games are given out, Greg, right, for the kids that were in the altercation. But I did tell Greg one interesting thing. Ed Kinsey went out to Minnesota yesterday, and it was a really good report. There was some technical stuff that they didn't do right, but I mean, it was not compliant. So that was, I thought that was fantastic. Here they are. Here are the minutes. Can everybody read them?
Everybody see, that's from the last meeting.
Yeah, so someone make a motion to adopt them after you read them. There wasn't a lot done, but whatever there was. Someone make a motion and someone make a second to approve the minutes from the meeting on the 23rd of June.
I'll make a motion.
Atta baby. Second.
All right.
Second emotion.
Second.
Second motion. Hey, there's a good song out like that.
All right. All in favor to adopt the minutes from the June 23rd meeting, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, so the minutes are done.
All right, I'll have the agenda up in 10 seconds here. Hold on. It's coming.
The biggest thing. So Ed, I thought that was a great. I think he went to an under 15 game there yesterday, but I thought that was a great result in that everything was went off smoothly out there, and that's really heartening. I think for all the work we've done to move that club into a real better frame of mind or whatever we want to call it.
There we go.
All right, so we're through the first 2 reports, Secretary Treasurer. Greg, what do you got as far as financials at this point? Do you have anything cogent?
We've still got to collect probably about somewhere in the vicinity of 2,500 yet from a couple clubs.
Let me ask you something. How do you know when they come in? Have you always been able to identify the money coming in, what it is for, from who, and for what teams?
90% of it, yeah. The problem, here's what, they'll send checks. I prefer people to send checks because, I get them in out of the mailbox, out of the drop box, and then I can record that and then put it, deposit it. What happens is they pay online through Got Soccer or through PayPal. It doesn't tell me which club it is that's sending the money.
That's why I'm asking that question. I don't, it's not a good system.
No, it's not. And what we end up having to do is we have to go back now. Let's say Tarpon, Liverpool is 2,200 in the hole or something, let's say. I have to go back, or Sherry and I both will split it or whatever. We'll go back and we have to go take a look in Got Soccer to see what the total amount is from all the teams that they've entered. And then we have to look through Bank of America, through their deposits, to see if any of that, if that number that we derived out of Got Soccer was actually deposited through PayPal or another way.
So PayPal and online payment were really designed to streamline the payment process. But in point of fact,
who's sending us
it takes
the money?
more of our time to actually figure out whose payment there are, and that
It's great for the clubs. Click, and the money gets sent. But again, we don't know who's sending the money. Unfortunately, now if there was a way, and I'm not sure, I'm not PayPal savvy. I mean, I know what when I pay the assigners, I have a text box, and when I do invoices, I have a text box, and I can put in there who it is, what it is, how many there are, and what the costs are, and that sticks with that account. So I've got to find out from PayPal if there's a way for them to input something for us to know who they are and what they're doing.
Yeah, because that system, it tells me one of these days we're going to miss somebody, or we're going to have, and they're going to have paid, and we're going to be,
Well, the way they can do it, there's a memo on PayPal. You can put in there your club and whatever you're paying and what you're paying for.
Is there? Okay.
Yes.
Then thanks, Les. I'll get with. We'll draft an email to the league, to all the club affiliates, the treasurers, and all that, and have them put some. We'll come up with something meaningful so we know who they are, how many teams, and what the total cost is.
Yeah, if they put it in the memo, you'll see what it's for.
Okay. Thanks, Les.
very good.
We knew we put him on the board for something, right?
Oh, accountants, man, you can't have too many lawyers and accountants on a board because
There you go. That's right.
Us peddlers like Alan and myself are useless, really.
Yes.
We can sell you something, but we can't. Well, so anyway, I knew that was an issue and had been a hanging issue. We should try and, bring that to some head. Greg, that's a great idea, though. Let's get to them and get that done.
Right.
Because it's a pain in the ass, actually. Now, the senior boys and girls, anything boiling up right now that you see?
No, it's going smooth on the
Oh,
girl
don't
side.
say that. Don't say that. That's just a jinx.
Well, right now, things are okay.
Very good. Les, how about you, Les?
My problem, as I told you, it's just the referee issue. The referees are bad. Okay.
Yeah.
And Paul, you're not included in that, Paul.
Thank you.
Well, you can tattoo that on your head backwards and look at it every day.
And especially the Homer referees at Northport.
Yeah. Hey, Les, there was also a question about, Greg, did you see it? Someone asking about, did all the 19s drop out of the boys? And Sherry sent me an email saying I didn't see any, massive dropout at all on 19s.
There have been two I know of.
To me, there are only two teams that dropped out.
Okay, so what did that leave us?
Well,
What did it leave us as far as players? We only had one league, didn't we? It was only one group.
I think it was two.
She just made those games a bye, basically.
Yeah, Paul, it was two dropouts, right, Paul?
Yes.
So
that
what
I
did
know of it that affected the team in our league.
Because
they went from 12 games to 9 games.
Okay, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Why is it? What's the total in the league now? 10?
I have no idea how many. There's two divisions, I think. There's a Premier Division and a Second Division.
And the Second Division, yeah.
Let me check.
Both teams were in the Second Division.
That's what really beg people at the coaches meeting to avoid, If you
Sherry just sent out another one today for a younger team.
Maybe Sherry can do what she did with the U16 girls, where she added 3 games to their schedule to make up for the dropouts.
The problem
that was very welcome.
The problem I see with that lesson, it can be done, is that you're already in the probably the 5th game of that season, right? So now you've already missed. You're already unbalanced. If you were right at the beginning of it, that would be easy to do because you just go back and reiterate the schedule, right? And you play the same team you played in the first week. But now you can't just do that and make up all the games. Some guys will get them and some guys won't.
Well,
the 2 teams that dropped out was Liverpool and Largo.
Uh, Greg, are we
I
finding
see.
them?
You're talking Liverpool and Largo in the second division, right, Les?
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
So that left us with 9 teams.
That leaves you with 9. And initially, you had 11, and you're going to play 1 game each, right?
Yes.
Shit. Oh,
We could have gone back and, wow, I don't know. It's probably too late to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say it is. I could talk to Sherry, but once you get in the middle of this, Les, it really gets to be a cluster throwing more games at them because they've got their games now spread out over fall and spring. So you're now going to throw in some more matches in there that really are going to – it could lead to teams saying, I can't play it, and then us wanting to fine them because they're not showing up to the games we added, you know.
yeah, they've already played half their season.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I don't know. That's the frustrating thing about, you get to these meetings and you talk, you know, you can talk to your horse and hey, be sure your teams are ready to play and they're well organized and no matter what happens, you're going to have them. And now we don't have a lot of them, but at that age group, it's a shame. It really is because the kids get screwed out of stuff.
Teams out.
They can pick up a tournament or two and you know get some more matches in, but we're charging them the same as everybody else. And theoretically, we had an adequate amount of games where everyone's playing once, and I think we got agreement. I think I did the 19s and 18s, and we were, you know, everybody was fairly well happy with that until these teams dropped out. So.
Well, it looks
If someone has a solution to that before next year, please tell me, because
looks like Liverpool pulled out in the Premier and Division 2.
Yeah.
2 teams.
Well, you know what? Never mind. Let's save that for later. But when you can identify a group like them who pulls out a number of teams, you've got to be more skeptical about putting them in a division in a league, correct?
Well,
Right.
yeah. Once they find out the state leagues aren't all that in a bowl of cherries, they'll be wanting to come back next year, and all you have to tell them is, sorry, you're going to get Division 3 play.
Yeah. Although again,
can I ask a question, Paul?
yes, yeah, one.
Total, besides those 2 U19 teams, how many teams did we have dropped in all divisions, in all age groups after our meetings?
I don't know, but Jerry can. If Sherry were here, she could tell us. She's the numbers girl. I don't know. We don't keep track of it as on a weekly basis, but Sherry can. She isn't here tonight, but we'll get her to take a look. You know, when you ask a question like that, it's good. It's very encouraging because we talk about this and it's frustrating. If it's only 5 teams out of 200 and something, oh, okay, you know, if it's 15, you know, if it's 10 teams, then you've got an overall problem. And a lot of times when we run down one of these rabbit holes, Juan, we're really in the high, you know, in the small percentages of the problem, and we're chasing the 2 or 3%. It's like unfinished games, right? Games that didn't get played.
Yeah.
When you get down
Sherry
below
just sent out a notice today for a U10 girls team that withdrew.
yeah,
FC
I think
Tampa, Newcastle.
that's FC Tampa, Newcastle. So something happened. But now, see, that's a club normally that is a good participant, Paul, that has, over the years, you don't see them yanking teams out very often.
Yeah.
Stuff does happen. I get it. The 7 of the kids leave, or, you know, there are extenuating circumstances. It's the question. Here's a question. Is it, and that's what Juan's getting at, how big a problem is it in numbers? Is it 1% of our teams, or 5% or 8%? And that's the first number we should need to start with, that Sherry can tell us, hey.
Well, I can tell you this. The one I'm looking at in Got Soccer used to be able to tell me how many clubs we had, how many teams we had, and, you know, the fields for those teams. unfortunately, got soccer is all screwed up. And because teams are playing in several sanctioned FYSA leagues, they're what's the word I'm looking for? They're adding on. In other words, let's say right now, Paul, SC Tampa, according to this chart, has 468 teams. Okay, seriously.
No, but what I was getting at was that I might be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that this year was a little bit of a transition year. We all remember what happened with let's say, with the mandate of the AGM to tell FYSA you cannot run anything else but FSPL starting in 2020. But
That's right.
still, that was out there. So people were speculating if going into FSFL, FSCL, and that might have created a problem. The other thing is that US Club Soccer came out with a new Regional Elite Development League. Teams were waiting to go in there. And we were quite honestly speculating. At the end, we are in both, the Hawks, we are in both leagues and we are able to play because the red season is not that long. But I would say that perhaps this year was a little bit of a special year because it was kind of a year where several leagues were trying to compete to get people in. I don't know if that happens every year. I don't think so.
No, I don't think it does. I think this year is different. But you know, Juan, I think, in fact, Greg and I had a discussion this week because we were talking about something else and got into it. But I think the future will be, though, Juan, that we'll see more and more of these sprout up leagues because they're financially viable or someone wants to buy into Florida. And so I think that we're going to see more of the leagues getting dangled in front of these clubs, which will make the numbers when you start signing up unstable. And my answer to that is, what can you do about it?
Well,
what we can do is to run the league as well as we can. What's that, Greg?
They would have to go through my competition committee.
Well, it's not just that. It's yes, but not really. U.S. Club Soccer doesn't need to.
No, they don't. But anybody else that wants to come
yes, but it's not. It's that's who's it's going to be. It's going to be people, the renegade type of, not renegade, but the guys from outside who are just wanting to come in. The issue though for the league is when you look at what ramifications does that have? Because what you've got to do then, in my opinion, is to make your product as good as it can be. From a organizational standpoint, that you provide everything you can. We make it as good a functioning league as you can, and that's your product, and that's what you've got to live and die with, and that's the only way. And I think FYSA also, that's what we were talking about, Greg and I. FYSA needs to also understand what their market and who their market is, and start to target and support their market. If every time we turn around they're chasing the top 3 teams in the state and trying to get them in a league, they're not going to do a good job, and they haven't done a good job supporting the leagues that they have and making them better, where we can draw them all together and have a path to the state cup, which is what Greg's working on now. And I think that's what you can do. You can't, every time someone comes in, Juan, it's a sexier thing, right? They're telling kids they're going to be in the German national team next year if they join this team, and all this nonsense. And eventually, that all that wash comes out. If the leagues are doing a really good job of providing play and having play be elegant, meaning that everybody's getting good games in dense competition. That's all you can do, and I think you can probably. That's probably a more successful format than anything else we can do, and it's us. It's up to us, the board of directors in this organization.
So I insist to my point of of the date of the meetings, because I have seen it happen at the club. Number one, because I see from the reaction of our parents that the one thing that attracts the parents about USA is consistency and the seriousness of business. Our games are played, the referees are there, and to be honest with you, I always tell the parents, did we dominate a league so that we have to be looking for CDL? No. We had competition, and we had normal competition. So I insist that we have to have a little bit of a marketing plan. And that marketing plan, in my opinion, has to start with a serious, well-led Facebook or Instagram account that allows everybody over the 52 teams that are part of this league to get constant positive feedback of what's going on with the clubs, with USA. I'll give you an example. This week, for whatever contact we had, 12 of our boys and 1 girl were the ball boys at the international friendly between Venezuela and Colombia. We have no clue what an experience that was for them. Incredible. So something like that goes out. You never see CDL or anybody else kind of market what happens and the good things that we do as a league. And as I was saying to Greg during the meeting, yes, the website is there, but the reality is that social media, if it's Twitter or if it's Facebook, those are the things that are running the opinion of people nowadays. And I think that we should seriously think about getting into it.
I agree 100%. I can't imagine anybody on the board does not agree that the issue we've had since Kai was going to do that a couple of years ago, and I'm not blaming him. What he ran into, Juan, and this isn't an excuse, is content. In other words, he could do that, but he had to have content from everybody. And he wasn't getting that in any volume on any consistent basis from the clubs. A guy that whoever does that, not a guy, a person or a business or whatever, has got to come to us or yourself with a plan as to how they're going to reach out. I don't think anybody would be opposed to putting out something every day, having something on there. But somebody has got to do that and have some cogent content to do that. And what if we find somebody to do that? We were willing to pay Kai something. He agreed upon a number, and it just wasn't successful. But I would do that if you've got an idea or got a way to do it, get it to us. And
can I commit to sit down with our administrator, who does a tremendous job with our Facebook, and ask her what goes into it, besides, of course, getting the content.
But Sherry doesn't do any of the Facebook stuff.
No, to our administrator.
Our software, our guys.
Just find out how she does it, because she does it by the minute. Not bragging, but we won today a title during the.
You're saying your club.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I can find out with her.
Yeah.
What do we have to do? How much trouble is that? And then we go from there. But we start.
Look, and I would be the first one to say, if we had to devote some budget to it, I'd do that in a minute also, if it were efficacious, if it worked and it was good. I think it's a great idea. We decided about the web page, not to confuse us, not to get up, but the web page for us has to be a management tool, because we have such a massive issue with managing clubs, managing the teams, getting the teams, so that the prime reason for the site is for people to plug in it and be able to participate in a well-managed organization. It got some stuff on it that people see but it's not. That's not the point of the purpose of the website. The website is our management tool, because principally that's what we do. these things you're talking about would be Facebook or Twitter or some of these other things, which I think is fantastic. Someone's gotta tell us how we're gonna do it and what it's gonna cost to do that.
All right. Can I commit to
Yes.
tackle that and bring that to the board at some point?
Yeah. Does anybody have an objection to that?
No.
So, yeah, well, I mean, absolutely, Juan. That's what we look. I mean, that's what we need. That type of thing. So,
all right.
But let's say, but that's anyway. That's been the discussion now. You got my report, President's report. Let me keep moving through here. The senior season's underway. That was a question I just had. Seems like we're in it. We've got some issues. Juan, the other thing is when Sherry gets back, I'll ask her what our dropout has been. My guess is, Juan, it's under 3%, maybe 2%, which isn't good. I'm not saying it's good, but let's see what it is on the senior teams from the sign up. If we have this, from the sign up, the original schedules to today, what the dropout rate has been. I haven't seen too many, like Paul was saying. I saw that today about the 10 girls. But Liverpool having 2 of them is really, it's just disheartening to have some of the clubs that are shopping, and I don't mind that. I don't take offense to that or anything. But if you're going shopping, and you don't ever you come to our store and say you're going to come to the store, so we make we put you in a package, and then you tell us later on, well, we're not really interested. That does leave a bad taste in people's mouths as far as trust and credibility of the club, of our members. And the members that are not going to have games because of that are rightfully should rightfully feel an affront. It's like it's impolite at the very least. A reminder again, as always, that the rescheduling issues that we have, we've got to be as tight as we can about it. We're back to the point where we're going to have another 1,000 reschedules if we don't slow it down at this point. Submit proof of suspension, serve for any red cards to all of our members out there, please, so that we do have an issue, and we'll discuss it in the executive session real briefly. But that's it. The last thing, good for the good of the game, a girl from USF sent us I think she's probably someone working with their soccer or athletic department. So she sent me a thing and gave all the information. Here's what they have for us and the numbers and the games and the costs and a lot of good information. And I think it's good. It's fantastic for these kids to get to these games and see, some just like the Tropics and the Rowdies. I mean, the more matches they can see live and look at what people are doing out on the field, the better off we are. And so we sent it out as a blast, and I think we're going to have a thing on the website so the clubs will easily be able to plug into their USF's schedule this season. I did send her an email, and Mike reminded me to do this today, and say, look, we're glad to do that. We've got hundreds of teams, and we've got all of these kids playing, and we really want to work with you. Now, we have a showcase. For 2 years, we've had a showcase, which we put on for free for the kids in this league, and not one member of your staff attended. Not one member of your staff attended them. Now, I don't know how you go in touch with them. So I just said, look, it's like a two-way street here. We want to help you, and we want to get on the road with you. But could you throw some bodies on the road our way? In other words,
I can talk to Denise about that. I'm no longer part of the staff, but I keep in touch with Denise, and I can let her know. Listen,
because yourself, it really wouldn't. They don't have to send the head coach, but if they send some representation, you don't know what they will see. They might catch something. But the assumption is, I guess, on their part that there's not gonna be anybody they could see that day that'd be any good, and that's kind of a slap in the face because we are willing to bend over backwards to help them get more kids in the stands and get more interest. And it's good for all of us. I mean, it's a round ball, so I appreciate that one. It really is. And I don't know how much we pushed or how direct we approached both programs and explained what we have and could they send somebody. But you would have thought they might know something, and we didn't hear from them. They didn't say, well, we'd love to do it, but we can't make it. And they turn around, and I know it's not the same person, but we turn around and they want us to help them. I said, we'll do it because it's soccer. It's good for our members. But by the way,
with that same argument, Paul, exactly like that, I can very easily talk to both of them, to Denise and to Bob, and let them know, listen, because I've known them for years, and I can tell them, we help you, but you have to be a little bit more outgoing. Those two programs have had a reputation of reaching out very, very little to the local talent.
Yeah.
And that's something that they have to be careful with, because sometimes it kicks back at you. So,
yeah. But Juan, let me ask you something frankly. If you look at the team, I mean, have a deep soccer background. You look at the teams and you look at the kids that we have playing locally. Does the talent? I mean, I got the impression their talent now levels, especially the boys, had gotten to the point where the local kids would have to be pretty, pretty good players to be on that squad. A lot of local kids played there years ago, where you could go to a game and see a kid that played at Dunedin or played at the Countryside or whatever, and it was really great for for people that were in the community. But that's really not as possible.
If you ask me, for instance, the last ID camp, the one that was at Schimberg, I think it was at Schimberg. I went there. It was, let's say, not a particularly easy day because it was that rainy, cold day.
Yes.
But I think that the level on that particular day, I could not see perhaps one or two players who could have had on the men's side. Don't forget that USF is usually in the top 25 of the nation.
That's why I'm saying that.
And on the girls' side, even more. Today, I don't know how they played today against Wake Forest, but they started the week as 14 in the nation. That is a high bar.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And it's pretty heady company. Maybe if they just, you say, we'll send somebody, and they say, come on, man. I mean, you can't pull us away like that because we're not going to see anybody. And, I'm not saying that's impossible and we shouldn't do it, but there's a possibility they're right, Juan, that not sending anybody was a strategy they assumed because they realized that their level of play, they're not going to pull anybody out of our showcase.
What I can tell you is that I know that their budgets are managed very, very, very many months in advance.
But there's no travel.
Information.
There's no travel for them.
You get in the car and drive 2 miles.
Yeah, there's no travel for them.
Yeah, but budget includes schedule.
Yeah.
So sometimes if you are scheduled to go to Canada and at the same time you have the ID.
No, I got it.
That's what I mean.
What I would suggest, one, is tell them, look, beyond that, it's a courtesy. And we can help. We'll bend over backwards. We should help them anyway, because that's good for our members, our kids, to see that level of play. It's right here, and it's a very energetic game. But I don't think we should make a contingent that if you don't do that, we're not going to do it. I don't think that makes any sense for us. But just a little prod to them to say, hey, if you can send some people over, that'd really be nice, and kind of a nod, because we really are thin on the college coach side. And I don't know if it makes sense. I mean, we're going to have to evaluate that this year, because if we continue not to be able to get 8 coaches, 10 coaches, 5 coaches, then all of the effort we put into it really it makes you wonder if it's worth it. I think that the talent level, I know Greg was surprised and a couple other people on the boys side that, you know, there were some really nice players, some Hispanic kids, as I understand it, were really attractive players and would have made somebody's team, you know, you know, they really, that showcases, it didn't get them out there as well. Now, neither would a $400 showcase help them much either. And I'm not arguing that, but you know, it's we talked about partnering up with people that do that out in Texas. I think was the first one, and they do these things. And they have a following. Coaches are going to come because they're holding it, and if they want to get to the other 5 they're holding, they're going to get to the 6th one in Tampa, and you can build something. So that may be the way out of it. To partner with somebody in the showcase and still make it available to our kids for free, which is the idea. So, well, but that's a common thing if you know, we get there. So, but that is what that USF push was about. It wasn't that they didn't help us, so we're not going to help them. We're not going to play them. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to make people aware of the programs because it's good to make them aware of the programs.
Next showcase we're going to offer the coaches a weekend for 2 in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
In September?
Yeah.
Juan, just so you know, USF women beat Wake Forest 3-2, and Wake Forest was number 21 in the nation. So
There you go.
USF women have a strong team.
Very good.
5-1 as of today. So they have an incredibly strong spot this year. Incredible.
Well, I know when we had one of the coaches clinics to get back with the F license and E license and that, we had a girl from USF show up to that who plays on Guatemala's national team who played for USF.
Daniela Andrade.
Well,
and she made us old men look silly.
I think also in the for the good of the game, also there's we're having a D license, I think, next weekend at Schimberg. I don't know if it's full or whatnot, but if anybody needs to look into that, take a look, because I know we're hosting it at Schimberg next weekend. All right, anything else before we adjourn the meeting, go into the executive committee? All right, someone please make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion.
I second.
Second, okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, let's go right into the executive committee so we can all go to bed.
Good night, John. Have a good day.
Have you got the minutes of the last executive committee there?
I got to go out to the website. Yeah, hang on a minute.
Well,
there wasn't much there. I can tell you that.
No, but it's got to be approved. You got to run the Robert's rules thing. And
Hold on.
We're running a legal shop here, you know.
Yeah.
Hold on, baby. Good night, gentlemen. Have a good day.
Hi.
Who's that?
Coco.
Coco, how you doing? Hey, I just mentioned the D license. Are you full up for that, Coco?
Yeah, we got about 20 people from around the state taking the fight. That will be the final weekend. We start in July.
Oh, so you're in the middle of it.
So yeah, we know this weekend will be the last.
Oh, okay, all right. I just mentioned, okay.
So this will be a weekend. We got 20 people from, from different parts of the state, mostly from Region C.
Told you there wasn't much up there, Paul.
All right, well, whatever there is, let's read it and somebody make a motion to approve. David, make a motion to approve the executive committee meeting.
Motion to approve, David.
All right. We got a second, Alan?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's go back to the agenda. First, the biggest thing is we have 2 openings. I sent an email out, so I'd like to not necessarily fill them tonight, but get somebody to so that by the next meeting we have them. We're not lacking anybody. We got to fill Mike's spot in the juniors with somebody. So we got to think. We think about it. Now here's my idea: is Mike was an FC Tampa, was a direct FC Tampa guy. It's the biggest club, and I think it has the most teams in the league. We would like to keep a representative directly of that. Now Coco is the president, but I'd like to try and there's a couple guys there, and I talked to Coco this weekend about it. So we're just got to check with them and see. But I think one slot we need to look at a capable person, bringing them on, because we really have a tremendous crew right now. We're losing two great guys. The other one I suggest is to look south. Even Cape Coral, like Cape Coral's never been on our board, and they're the biggest, aside from I think TBU, they're the biggest club in C, and they're good guys. They're real, local guys. They're not a youth soccer business. They're in the community and stuff. And there was a president, the girl that we always see and talk to. And I got to get her name and get a hold of her, or someone from Cape Coral that they suggest would be my other suggestion, is to pull somebody out of the South. We're doing pretty good out east now. I remember in the old days we didn't even have the proper phone number for Alan and them out there. We were calling somewhere. There was no phone. I remember the phone was like in the middle of the field somewhere. No one ever answered. That was 8 years ago, but we've got Alan and then Les and the guy that ran for FYSA. So the clubs in the East, I think Robbie and James and Paul. We got good participation. We always kind of are good in the center here. We've got people from St. Pete, and Pinellas, FC Tampa's, like that. Temple Terrace, we had a guy on for years on the board, and Braden River now with Mark, our friend, and David now, which is a big club and kind of is in the end of the thing. I'm thinking further south, and Cape Coral's the only one that makes any sense. There are good guys in Charlotte, Sarasota. So during the week, I'd like to try and at least talk to them and get Coco to give us somebody from FC Tampa. That's my thought, and we'll come to the next meeting with those things. And if you've got any ideas, please tell me. But that's my idea: is we keep trying to bring in the bigger clubs and the guys that are expert in the geography here, so we get a good feel for for what's really happening, instead of this the same old five people that the more abundant. In fact, when we hit this board originally, that's just what had gone on for probably 5 years, and that's why everything was kind of, nobody knew anything about the clubs. I don't think the president at the time, one or two of them, could have walked on any club anywhere and they would have known who it was. And I'm not critical of that, but man, there's something wrong with an organization when the president and their board members don't know anybody in the community anymore, and it's ridiculous. But we've changed that, and we want to keep it diffuse like that, so that we're drawing in all these other clubs, because we find out a lot. I think Mark was a real breakthrough in Braden River, and really pulled them in close. And we know, now we know what the problems are down there in that region, and the thinking and everything else. So that's my thought. We go south for one, and FC Tampa for the other. And if you guys have any other suggestions, make them, because I that's just my idea. It's not necessarily going to be the way it is. And we can get more board. We can have more board members than we have. I don't see that we need them. We've got a pretty active board. Everyone shows up most of the time. We're good that way. But if we find some real good individuals, it doesn't hurt to have their opinion. Because just like Les has brought a lot, David. Allen's been on a while. I mean, but Juan coming on. I mean, Juan tonight has had 2 good suggestions. So this, building new people in when they're good, it really helps, make us better, I think. So that's the board thing. Are we going to review the suspensions, Greg? I think they made them already, did they not?
There was a discussion about it. I think each of them got 4 games.
Yeah. So you guys, there was a altercation.
I'm trying to get the game report up here, but this.
Well, I mean, but just to say, there was an altercation at the game. It was who was it, Greg? It was Manatee. It was a Manatee.
It was
like an under 15 game. It's the worst thing that's happened so far this year.
Yeah. God bless it. Hold on.
The upshot is there were 4 or 5 people involved. It was a real Donnie Brianna. People running around, and it was a real dangerous
Manatee and West Coast Chaos.
Yeah, okay. And West Coast Chaos, we had no idea who they even were. It's a Sarasota team, but again, you change your name, at least let us know.
I'll read the gist of it until this damn server gets straight on this USA game reports. Basically, what happened was a player from Manatee was grabbed by a player from West Coast Chaos. As they went down, they continued pulling and wrestling around on the ground. The kid got up, started swinging an attempt to hit the other kid. I don't know if anything landed or not because I don't have a U.S. soccer supplemental report. Referees are, again, not sending in what they should be. So anyhow, he gets up, tries to hit the kid. I don't know if he did or not. So the kid that tackled him, I take that back. There was, as this kid, Bobby, was down on the ground and was swinging, attempt to hit this player. This other player came in and hit him in the back with both, like a football tackle. He tackled him across the shoulder blades and power drived him into the ground. Okay? So pretty much that's what we got. Both were, it appears from the referee, it was a VC. It was vicious or violent conduct. And I don't have any other report because he never sent in the supplemental. As far as I know, these kids were grappling on the ground. When the one got up, the other one came through and foul drived them, and then they started again.
So anyway, the Donnybrook ensues. We end up with the 2 kids that really want, one that swung, the other one that came into the fight and was not involved in the physical altercation to start with. I think they both get 4 games. Well, the thing says 3 to 6, I believe. 4 seem to be good. Okay, so we give them 4 games.
And the kid that initially took them down gets 4 as well.
All right, so there's 2 or 3 kids with 4 games. Now, here's where it gets complicated, and we have nothing to do with this in terms of adjudicating. The kids got to serve, the players have to serve the penalty with the team that they got the red card with. Okay, simple enough normally. At least 1 or 2 of them also are rostered. They're club pass rostered onto an FSCL, FYSA, FSCL, the league that will not be anymore, team in their club. Now, this is really the fault of the guy that's put a kid on various teams that's going to punish him, not us. But it ends up that by what we understand, and I'm 90% sure, if a player does not complete their suspension, they can't play in another FYSA event. Okay? Another FYSA until they complete the suspension that they got in the FYSA game. The problem is one of the teams is FSCL, one of the players, or 2 of the players are going to be club passed to. are playing like 4 matches in 2 weekends, right? They're playing Saturday, Sunday, which means that they cannot play in any of those matches because they have not completed the suspension. I think they're only 2 games into the suspension in USA. This is an FYSA issue, and FYSA is the one that's going to tell them they can play in the FSCL games or not us. But this is a great example now of having kids swirling around 2 or 3 teams being club passed, which I think is, I really myself I don't have a problem with, except when you get a suspension like this, FYSA is going to have to think through how they're going to deal with these suspensions, and they're going to have to do better than this situation, because this kid could actually miss out on 8 games, the 4 in USA and then the 4 in the FSCL. Now, that being said, the coach that put him on an FSCL team and club passed him over is really the one responsible. He invited him to play, and now he's got to disinvite him, as we know it. Maybe that won't happen. We don't know. So that's what this is. The brouhaha has been all about. But it has nothing to do with us. It's FSCL. They're the ones that either are going to let him play or not let him play. We know they're going to serve 4 games in USA, in the USA matches. That's all we got. So that's the gist of it. There's really nothing for us to adjudicate or vote on. That's what's just to let you know what's happening. What else you got? What's the last thing, right? There was something else too on this.
Well, the issue we have is this: twofold. One, if a club pass player, let's say a 14-year-old goes to 15, and his club pass to the 15, okay, his roster team is 14. He gets a violent conduct for 4 games on the 15. Now, does that mean he can't play his 14 games until he serves the 4-game suspension on the 15? Because that's the team he has to serve it with. So, is he allowed to play with the 14s while he's still serving his suspension? That's number one. And number two, what happens when there are no more 15-year-old games and he still needs to burn off 2 games? Where does he burn them off?
Well, again, USA will not, our board and we will not determine any of that, Greg.
Yeah, we have to.
No, FYSA, that's FYSA's deal, not ours. You know.
Well, it's yes and no, because that red line, I need to get a hold of Got Soccer. We need to find out where that red line goes. Does it go with the 14 and the 15, or does it go with the 15?
Well, the way it would be now is if he only could serve 2 games of the 15s, it's tough luck. It is now everybody, these coaches got to start to understand, or I think more to the point, FYSA has got to start to think through a little more clearly how we determine, because there is no doubt that you have got to, by FYSA rules, you have got to serve the suspension with the team you're playing. And I'm 90% sure you cannot play in another FYSA scheduled contest, but certainly in our league, you would not be allowed to play until you burned off that suspension. So if someone wants to keep moving kids around, that is the risk. Although if FYSA would be clearer and say, look, let's let them burn it off on any FYSA match, right? Then that we got to clear a road. However, if I were a smart coach and I had a red card, I'd throw the kid in a CP in a match that you weren't even going to play him in. Throw him on a roster, and then he burns his card off, and he's back playing for the team without anything going on. So that's the problem with that. And FYSA just has to come up with some cogent way to do that. In the interim, for USA, we'll vote on it as we hit it, Greg. We'll vote on it as we come to it, right?
Well, that's what I said. What happens when, again,
when we come to the specific issue, in other words, 2 USA games, no way to work it out with, then we can, USA, our board, the guys here tonight, just go up and vote. We get Merit to give us the best opinion of FYSA's rules on the games, or whoever is the current guru of FYSA rules, and vote on it for us. This particular thing here has got nothing to do with us, because four of the games they're talking about being suspended are not our league. They're playing in another venue entirely.
I'm not worried about I'm not worried about the FSCL. I'm not. This has nothing to do with FSCL.
What I'm saying, as FYSA has to deal with this one, as they adjudicate it, we'll see what they're thinking, and we'll have a better idea. We have not had the hypothetical situation you're talking about. So until we do, we don't need to waste any time talking about it, for me, because we will, if it comes to it, and we have to adjudicate it, we will.
Okay.
The board will decide.
Putting that out there because these coaches, some of these coaches, they nitpick.
No, I got it, but it's not. We're not there yet, so it's not. It's
some
not.
14-year-old coach, the 14-year-old coach of this kid, or of another team, is going to say, "Hey, wait a minute, he's still suspended for 2 games. He can't play on this 14 team."
That's again for this particular thing that we're looking at at 779 red card. He's going to serve 4 in USA. Beyond that, we don't have any control over what FYSA lets them do in another venue.
I'm not talking about that. This has nothing to do with the other venue, Paul.
We don't have. Give me the situation you're dealing. We don't have what you're talking about. Has not. We don't. It didn't happen yet in our league.
Yes,
we don't have somebody in an older age group now playing down. We don't have that. If we did, we'll.
Well, that's what I thought this was. This was 14s playing up club past the 15.
No. This is his argument. Is he's being club passed. He's talking about 8 games because the 4 games he's talking about getting suspended for are 4 FSCL games outside our league.
No, that's not this game. That's not this game. It's an entirely different issue. That's not this game. This is game 779 that was played in our league.
Correct.
Has nothing to do with FSCL.
Okay, but stop. They're serving 4 games. What's the question?
The question is, while he's serving those games with the 15, is he allowed to play on the 14-year-old team that he's rostered to?
Not in our league.
Greg, this is Sherry. I just logged on, so I didn't hear everything, but they're currently rostered to the USA League, if that makes a difference.
Right. No. Yeah, we got that.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure you knew. I'm going to unmute because I'm on the food truck. It's super loud.
Right.
I apologize.
No problem. No, I'm going to find out because I've been trying to get a hold of FYSA for half of last week, Paul, just to find out.
But here's my question. He's rostered to a Manatee team, correct?
He's rostered.
Or
Yeah.
the West Coast, those are the other guys. He can't play, right, in any of our league's games until he serves that suspension with the team he got the red card with.
That's great. That's what we need to know. Because as soon as the 14-year-old coach says something from another team that this kid played and he hadn't served his suspension yet, his total games, he's going to protest the game.
Well, the 14s aren't playing yet, are they?
Not yet.
No.
No, not yet. But let's say he doesn't get these burned
Well,
off.
let's see how this works out before we worry about the 14.
Okay. Well, I'm just
One
trying
of these
to get out
guys-
ahead of everything.
Oh, this guy here. Well, we can't. I mean, because this guy, I got an email from these same people talking about FSCL game, 4 FSCL games. That's what he's arguing about. That's what 4 games becomes 8 games means.
Right. No, I understand that.
So he's specifically complaining, and I don't blame him, that this kid is going to have to sit. This kid apparently may have to sit out 4 FSCL games that he's going to be club passed to play.
Right.
Or it's his original team.
Right.
But that's it. He got him in that situation, not us. And the FSCL games, we don't have any control about. he is going to serve 4 in our league.
Got it.
If it gets to the 14s, well, but they'll have to, FISA is going to, they're going to have to deal with this problem before we get to it, right?
Right. Well, yeah, that's true, because if he was rostered to a 14 and he's playing in the FSCL as a 14,
yes,
and FYSA has to decide.
So FYSA is going to have to say, no, it's okay. If will you serve your USA games, and that's fine. Anything else he wants to play is fine. Or if he doesn't play in any FYSA, either way, we'll have an answer before an under 14 coach starts complaining about him.
Gotcha. No problem. Just wanted.
But I get you. He's going to run into games. Maybe he can't play the whole under 14 season.
Yeah.
If it comes to that, though, we should vote on it. We can change that in our league.
Right. Well, like I said, I'm going to be talking to them tomorrow in the state office, and I want to know. I want to make sure I got everything straight.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? New business? Anything from anybody? All right. Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn the executive committee?
I have one other thing I'd like to address, Paul. Sorry.
Okay. You got it. Go ahead.
And since Sherry's on the line, Sherry probably got. I learned last week that game number 1466 that was played at our park on August 25th, that my U17 B second team played Florida Coast, and when their game was over, players from that U17 team went to play with U19 team, and they weren't on the roster. And the referees write them in on the rosters. And I thought there was a rule that there's no writing on any roster.
Correct.
Well, apparently that's what occurred at that game. I'm not sure what information Sherry got from the referees, or if she got a roster with writing candidates on it.
Well, not to mention the fact that if he played in an FYSA game,
right,
he is not allowed to play in another FYSA game for another team on the same day.
On the same day, correct. Right. So well, that occurred. I just learned that last week from James.
Yeah.
So
I saw that from James Bowen. That's what he was talking about, huh, Les?
Right.
Yes, I wasn't aware of it until I saw that email, and I called James to clarify that.
Just to, who's the assigner that would assign that? Is it the same guy, Greg? Didn't you get to that assigner and tell him about that?
I think that was. I thought it was Deegan. I'm not sure. What was
but I thought I saw something for Dave.
Assigned Eric Frost assigned the ARs.
What's the game number?
1466.
Okay, hold on. I'm in there right now. Hold on.
I thought I saw something about that.
Deegan's the assigner. I was right.
So it appears that the referees don't know the rules, or whoever ran that game, nobody seemed to know the rule as to writing players.
Well, this guy's been around. Michael Benoit?
Yes, he's been around.
He's been around.
He's been around.
He's been around.
I know.
I can't say senile. Actually, I will talk to him about that when I see him, which I will probably in a couple of days, because that was very surprising. Not only was he there, also Lisa was one of the ARs, and she should have known better.
Well, that's funny, because I'll bet you if I go to look, I probably won't have all the paperwork from him either.
Yeah.
All right.
So that. I just wanted to bring that up.
Well, yeah, but let's let Dave and this guy.
Referees.
Let's let them know, both of them, Dave and this guy.
Hey, Les. So
yes.
You're saying the kids played for you under 17 and then went to play for the under 19 team?
Yes.
From
Florida Coast team.
From Florida Coast football?
Yeah. Yes.
That was the team that played the two players. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Anything else?
So that's just wanted to bring that to the forefront. So you guys can
do we know the players?
Not all this is to do that. You know, Greg runs at least 2 meetings every year for the refs, and the attendance is not not wonderful. You know, I mean, it just continues to do that.
10%.
We thought about, well, if you don't go to the meeting, then you can't ref. But of course, that'd give us no refs. So
Right.
let's stop that idea cold.
Well, Greg, how about this? Yesterday there was an FSPL game at my park, and no referee showed up for the game.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
So I had to go find referees to do the game. And who was one of the referee I find to do the game? Mike Benoit.
Oh, Jesus.
Doesn't surprise me one bit. There are 200 games in the hole because of the weather, and they have no assigners in their back pocket to get these games covered. So, do we know who the players were, Les?
I don't know, but I can find out. I'll get the game report from my I'll see if he has a copy from the coach for that team to see if they have a copy of who the players were.
Yeah, because I don't have anything here. I didn't. There's nothing in Got Soccer about it at all.
They didn't send in a game report, a copy of the rosters.
Well, wait a minute. What was the game? Do you know what the game number was where they played under 19?
Oh, the under 19 was the 1466.
Oh,
I'll be able to look and see if they sent it. I can't answer that right this minute, but I will look.
okay. Okay. Yeah, he didn't note anything on here, but I should be able to see. I don't see game cards on here, so.
Well, if there's a roster there, they certainly would not be on the roster, right?
Well, no, but I would see the game card with them written in.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Right.
So we get them either way. You get them because they wrote them in, and or that's not the issue. The issue is that they supposedly broke a FYSA bylaw.
I tell you. Oh.
Greg, the U17 game number is 969.
969. Okay.
I'll tell you something else I've observed also at a couple of my games. When they check in teams, you notice after the check-in, maybe 5 minutes later, whatever, you got some other players that all of a sudden appear, but they do not go to the ref and check in, and the refs don't make them check in. So there again, you don't know exactly what's going on when that happens.
And they're also not looking at the player cards and verify that the player is who they are.
Exactly.
Les, what was that game number again with the 17s?
969.
Alan.
Thank you.
Alan, one of the things, and Greg and I last year had numerous discussions about this.
Uh-huh.
His point was, we need to control. In other words, USA needs to have these reps. But every time we think about doing that is we can't pay them. We can't get the money to them or anything.
Right. Oh, I know. It's hard.
The control would be at the club to say, you missed some guys, so I'm not giving you $70 because you.
Well, the thing of it is, it's mainly at the other team's home. It's not happening at our fields. It's happening at the away games. Even
at those fields, if that guy said, "Hey, you really didn't check those kids in. You're supposed to."
Yeah.
Pay you $60. We're going to keep 10. I know we'd lose refs if we did it, and I know.
I forced the referee at my fields to check the player cards for both teams, not just go from the roster.
Yeah, because I was going through that with Jose at the Shipburg Fields this weekend, but he knows the rules. It's a matter. He said, I'm not there every single time. I tell him, and we really don't have a good way to to change things. To go, like in a normal job, a guy doesn't do something. You say, hey, don't do that. Don't. After about 5 times, you say, well, let me get somebody else to do this.
You're fired.
Yeah, we're so far from that, Les. This whole thing that we do is such an oddball management-ish problem.
Yeah,
we don't have a stick. We've got we've got something to pull. We can't push.
Part of the problem up the ladder, Paul, is that they did away on the board, FYSA board. They did away with the referee liaison. Mm-hmm. Okay,
I think the problem with referees is way deeper than that in the United States.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm getting at is Frank used to have that job. And
Yeah.
after he had it for 2 years, they got rid of the position. He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's that FYSA enlightened thinking.
yeah, well,
Get rid of things that are problems. Don't try and solve them.
well, what I'm
If
getting
no
at
one,
is,
if no one brings up a problem, we don't have one. So you say, hey, the guy out back is dead. We got to do something. Say, bury the body, and we'll pretend we don't care who killed him. Just get rid of the body. That way we don't have a problem.
I can get a hold of Abram over at FSR and
Oh.
write something up coming from a different level and see if he won't do something about these referees.
Well, if he finds a solution, he should get at least a MacArthur Award for 2 years. You know, where
Well,
the Genius
Yeah, he hasn't
Awards.
done anything in the past 10 years, so I don't see why he would.
Well, the problem is extremely deep, and you would think that someone at the national level would really start to address it some way.
Agreed.
All right. Well, let's try to adjourn again, see how we do. All right. I get a motion to adjourn the meeting, the executive committee meeting.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
All right. Second.
Aye. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll stay in touch with email. And if you got something on the ideas for filling in the Kai and Mike's spot, please let me know.
You got it. You got mine.
Yes.
All right. See you guys.
See you later.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jerry.